derailment of the Buhari-Era train line and the need for urgent investigation, rehabilitation, and enhanced safety measures to protect passengers and national infrastructure. I asked the Senate to note that the Buhari-Era standard gauge rail line remains one of Nigeria's most strategic transportation corridors, linking the South-South through Delta State to the North-Central region, serving as a vital route for the movement of passengers, goods, and industrial materials. I asked that we further note that the line, which resumed operations on Wednesday, October 29th, after 3 months of suspension, has within just 4 days of service experienced a series of alarming technical failures, maintenance downtime on Thursday, a major mechanical fault on Friday that left passengers stranded until nearly midnight, and finally, a derailment near Agbo in Delta State on Saturday, November 1st, 2025. Deeply concerned, therefore, that while there has been fortunately no loss of life so far, these recurring mechanical breakdowns and derailments point to grave safety lapses, inadequate technical supervision, and poor maintenance culture within the NRC. If unaddressed, such incidents could lead to tragic outcomes in the future, a risk that cannot be ignored. The Senate should be aware that this latest derailment is not an isolated occurrence, as the Buhari-Era standard gauge rail line has recorded a troubling series of derailments, service suspensions, and acts of vandalism in recent years. In the last 2.5 years, there are 10 incidents spreading from January the 22nd, 2023, a derailment near Kogi State, April 2023, a temporary service suspension following track instability near Agbo, Delta State, December 2023, vandalization of rail clips and fasteners around Agbaro, resulting in significant operational delays. May 2024, reported derailment around Owa-Alero, Edo State, which further disrupted service. June 2024, derailment near Ujenwu, Delta State, involving several coaches. While no injuries were reported, the service was suspended for 2 days. August 2024, service disruption caused by mechanical faults and vandalized signaling cables between Itakpe and Uromi. December 23rd, 2024, minor derailment at Akpara Station in Ethiopia East local government area of Delta State. April 2025, the line was suspended for 72 hours following multiple engine failures that disrupted movements in both directions. May 2025, track vandalization reported near Agbaro in Delta State. July 15th and 16th, 2025, NRC suspended train operations on that corridor, citing technical challenges. Mr. President, these persistent failures reveal a systemic pattern of neglect that now threatens public safety and national infrastructure investment. The Senate should be further concerned that repeated acts of vandalism, including theft of rail clips, fasteners, and signaling equipment, have been reported along the corridor, compromising track integrity and increased derailment risk. The Senate should observe that the Ujenwu-Itakpe corridor currently operates only one daily passenger service in each direction, carrying hundreds of passengers. Yet, the route remains overstretched, under-maintained, and exposed to security threats due to insufficient surveillance and delayed technical inspection. I ask the Senate to acknowledge that while the federal government and the NRC have invested significantly in rail infrastructure, the absence of independent technical audits, weak safety enforcement, and a lack of real-time monitoring have limited operational reliability and passenger confidence. The Senate should be deeply concerned that though the feasibility studies and design works for the extension of the Ijebu-Itakpe line to Abuja have already been completed, implementation has stalled for years, forcing passengers to still travel for over 4 hours by road from Itakpe to Abuja, thereby defeating the corridor's full economic potential and increasing travel hardship. The Senate should believe that extending the line to Abuja and modernizing the infrastructure will not only promote economic integration between the South-South and the North-Central regions, but also reduce road traffic fatalities, boost trade efficiency, and enhance Nigeria's overall transport resilience. Accordingly, sir, I ask that we resolve as follows. 1, to urge the Federal Ministry of Transport and the NRC to carry out immediate independent technical assessment of the Ijebu-Itakpe rail line to determine the root causes of the recent series of mechanical failures, vandalism, and derailments, and to implement corrective measures without delay. 2, to mandate the Senate Committee on Land Transport to conduct an on-the-spot oversight visit to the affected section of the line near Agbo and submit a comprehensive technical and safety report to the Senate within 2 weeks. 3, to call on the federal government to provide adequate budgetary support for the rehabilitation, modernization, and safety enhancement of the Ijebu-Itakpe corridor, including installation of advanced signaling systems, CCTV surveillance, track stabilization, and emergency response units along the line. 4, request that the NRC increase operational capacity by deploying more coaches and ensuring at least 2 passenger trains services daily in each direction between Ijebu and Itakpe to ease passenger congestion and improve service reliability. 5, sir, to urge the Ministry of Transportation to commence immediate implementation of the approved extension of the Ijebu-Itakpe line to Abuja, building on the completed feasibility and design studies to ensure full interregional connectivity, reduce travel hardship, and unlock the corridor's economic potential. 6, Mr. President, to direct the NRC to strengthen operational safety protocols, improve passenger communication systems, and institutionalize regular preventive maintenance to avert future derailments and service disruption. And lastly, Mr. President, to recommend that the Federal Ministry of Transportation establish a National Rail Safety and Standards Unit tasked with conducting periodic safety audits, enforcing compliance with international best practice, and ensuring accountability and transparency across all national rail corridors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Center of Bauchi State. Mr. President, this motion cannot come at a better time than now. Mr. President, this is a very, very sad story, sad development. This is a line that was constructed no more than 6 years ago. And this is just the southern corridor. You look at the times of derailment, over 11 derailments from 2023 to date. We are not even comparing the derailment of the northern corridor between Abuja and Kaduna. This is a summary, the tragic summary, Mr. President, of Nigeria as a nation that seeks development. Billions have been spent to construct these lines with the intention of bringing succor to our people. If you look at the road infrastructure in Nigeria and the nature of it, it was a welcome development when the then government of the day began to nurse this idea of railway construction. But Mr. President, ab initio, from the beginning of that project to the completion of that project, we have not, as a country, we have not taken into consideration what went into that project first and foremost, and whether or not the lines laid were the top range lines that we've seen in other climes. If you compare the amount of money spent on railways in Nigeria between 2019 to date and other clients, Mr. Senate President, you will now know that we are not moving an inch. Mr. President, this is a huge indictment to even the National Assembly as an entity. How long, how many times have our committees actually take time to oversight some of these projects? This is about the 11th derailment. Have we had any report except today by a committee that is solely to oversight this project? Mr. President, the answer is no. Also, this is an indictment to various anti-graft agencies that we have in this country. The quantum of money spent and the terrible, tragic derailments that happens day in, day out. Mr. President, nobody seems to care about it. It's costing lives, it's costing property, it's costing a lot of money. Tell me, how do we get another money to do these lines again? Considering the fact that all the two lines, the southern corridor, the northern corridor, money were borrowed to do it. But Mr. President, our bureaucrats, our experts compromise the standards. Look at Abuja, Kaduna, every 1-2 months. Nothing works. Even the escalators in the railway stations, they don't work. Nobody cares whether it works or not. So certainly this is a very sad development, and I don't know where we are going as a nation. If we continue to borrow money, we didn't use petroleum money or any other money to develop these lines. We borrowed money from Chinese, and yet this is a tragedy we are harvesting. I think, Mr. President, we have to be more serious. We have to be more focused. Those who are responsible, the agency, the railway agencies, the Ministry of Transport, must come to account. Because we can't just allow all these things to be happening. A lot of times they say, President has created ministry and created ministers. And the president cannot do all these things at a time because there are agents that are saddled with this responsibility. Even taking this matter to committee to do an investigation is neither here nor there. Because the committee, ab initio, is actually saddled to oversight it. Where is the report? When did they travel? So, Mr. President, I think we need to be more serious, and I commend Senator Dapinone. These are things that will make a difference. These are things that will make democracy tick. Because without parliament, Mr. President, democracy doesn't survive. We have to do what we ought to do and question those who are responsible for this sin. Mr. President, I so second.
Is Engineer Patrick C. Ndubueze, representing Imo North. Mr. President, I will first of all appreciate Senator Dafinone Ede, who have shown why he has to take over from his father, late Senator Dafinone. If you watch the way and manner he has listed out the incidents on this rail line, it shows what his concern, it shows his love for this nation, it shows his commitment that we should do better. This is exactly 10 incidents on one rail line. I would suggest that we don't need to debate much about this. Rather, adopt all he has called for in this motion, whole and entire. Rather, also suggest that the ministry and the agency in particular, the Nigerian Rail Corporation, should be reorganized entirely. They are not doing their job. We should also draw the attention of the security agencies. They are lacking so much. And to add to what he has demanded here, I will also say it's not only linking that line to Abuja. We should link the Abuja with all the external lines, maybe the one leading Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, the one going, and all the rest of them. So we should link our Federal Capital Territory consciously with the rail line. It will help us decongest the road, reduce traffic by that matter, reduce stress. We should commit to extending rail lines throughout this nation. Our roads are terrible. And by the time we construct today or rehabilitate today, the next moment is gone. But by the time we make this an essential project in this country, rail lines, most of our loads will be going through the rail cargo, and that will help to save our roads. So, for what has happened, let us ask that Nigerian Rail Corporation should be reorganized and people who has a proper consciousness be placed in that rail organization. They should start now to map out the possible future rail lines. I'm not saying they will start constructing rail lines immediately. The reason for this mapping is like what came up on roads last time when the issue of concrete roads came up. We could not and we did not anticipate that as to make the provision to map it so that we can provide routes for ducts of pipes and all the rest of them in the past. And now we are going into concrete roads. In future, we'll be cutting the roads to pass our ducts. It is now a clear call that we should map out the possible routes of rail lines in future. Very, very important. We should add it to this. And in all, I repeat, let us adopt what our brother, Senator Ede Daphne, have made here so that we can move forward in this country. Thank you.
President, very distinguished colleague, Adeola Olamilekan, representing Ogun West Senatorial District in the Senate of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, let me also join in commending the mover of this motion, Senator Ide Dafilone. Mr. President, my own contribution will be a little bit different because reading through the motion of Senator Dafilone, I noticed that emphasis was on Ujewu-Itakpe standard gauge rail line. And I've listened to the contribution of some of my colleagues who have spoken that centers on the generality of the rail infrastructure in Nigeria. Mr. President, without going separate ways. I want to quite agree with Senator Ningi, who I met while he was contributing, that yes, the federal government have borrowed so much money to invest into the rail lines. And it will call for concern if some of these rail lines have started failing due to, one, some technical or mechanical faults, and two, a majorly vandalization by some unscrupulous Nigerians. But Mr. President, one thing this motion is seeking us to do is clear. It has drawn our attention on the importance of this rail line to the at least to the Nigerian rail line corridor. But when was this rail line constructed? When last was maintenance carried out on this rail line? We should know all of this so as to guide us as to what, because when you look at, yes, we have invested. Is it one of the rail line constructed during the last administration? Is it one of the rail lines? If it is, then it calls for a full-blown investigation. If it's recently, a full-blown investigation, because we know how much, in millions of dollars, that was borrowed to construct these rail lines. And that is why I want to be clear. And I'm happy that it's one of the newest rail lines that is newly constructed. So we have to call on the committee to carry out a full-blown investigation on this particular item so that we can get to the root of it. Because if you listen to some of the observations contained in this document, day by day activities, that is from January 2nd, 2023 to October 29, 2025, when this rail line resumed, the mover of this motion was able to chronicle all the activities of what transpired, of what happened on a day by day, from mechanical fault to technical fault to vandalization. So, Mr. President, I'm in total support of this motion and calling on the Senate to carry out a dutiful investigation on the root cause of this continued disruption of the rail line services of Ijewu-Itaipe standard gauge rail. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so submit.
To contribute to this very important debate. The truth, Mr. President, is that, distinguished colleagues, we tend to treat matters like this with levity. Maintenance issues. In fact, from conception to completion, our approach to project management and delivery is very, very opaque and very, very poor. And I think it is apt and proper for this very important matter to be thoroughly investigated with a view to forestalling future occurrences. I don't want to say much, but I believe you are thinking, Mr. President, and the thinking of this huddled chamber is in the right traction for us to really dig deeper and determine, one, the loan, how it was packaged, the technical details of the project itself, including specifications and including the standards, and also the technical details in terms of project delivery. And then you now look at why is it that we're having this kind of problems while other countries have similar projects that are delivering for more than 20, 30 years. We have the very clear examples. The same Chinese built the Mombasa-Kenya rail line. It's doing very well. It's one of the most important projects delivered in Africa by the Chinese. And they have not had any problem. But here, we're having continuous issues maintaining and managing our infrastructure and the rail line. And permit me, Mr. President, to say that the poor condition of our rail line is a direct consequence and the direct result why our roads are failing. Because movement of freight, goods and services on road takes a toll on the condition and the durability of the roads. And that's why my brother, the senator, overseeing FEMA, is having gray hair now, managing national roads, Senator Sahabi Yao, because the roads are failing. the volume of traffic, the volume of cargo moving north to south, south to north, is such that it's beginning to wear down on the condition of our highways. So I think, Mr. President, I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this matter, and I think you have the idea behind digging deeper to determine what really happened is in the right traction. Thank you, sir.
Speaking politics, nobody wanted to hit the nail on the head. So let me thank the distinguished Senator Olamilekon. Distinguished Senator Ide Dafinone, this motion is timely. I know that there is what they call warranty in contracts. There is no way you can finish constructing a rail line and something gets spoiled in 5 years. You must go back to those who did the installation and those who supplied the rail facilities. It will be their responsibility, not the responsibility of the Nigerian government. We have had crashes, derailments, too many. And it is also one of the infrastructure, I should say, that has caused Nigeria a lot of indebtedness. And as even the head of the China rails that supplied this rail line to us was visited by the Chinese equivalent of EFCC, and he jumped through the window in a 48-story building and died. Because there, corruption is not taken lightly. So in our own case, talking will not solve the problem. We have to get to the root of how much was borrowed for these rail lines, how much was spent on this rail line, who were the people who handled the contract of installation, and how come there was no warranty, who are those purchasing or paying for the repairs, and how can you finish a rail line, commission it, and in 3 months there is derailment, or it stops midway. And then some of them 5 days, it stops midway, and all that. Senator Babangida, you've been a permanent secretary in, was it Ministry of Works or FCT? Works and Housing. So if you were among those culpable in this, we have to find, we have to do something about it. But please just lend your voice. Just do what I'm talking about this having an opportunity to investigate and find out how much was borrowed, how much was expended, and we cannot continue to pay money on something we have never used, something that is costing lives, and then most of our very heavy items ought to move through rail in order to save the traction on the roads and also save the roads that we are constructing. But that is not the case today. So I don't know whether you have any explanation to make if it was during your tenure.
Thank you very much.
My prayer says, conduct a full-scale investigation through public hearing on the general situation of our rail lines in Nigeria. Conduct a full-scale investigation. No. It has to be a general one. It has to be a general one. Because this is an opportunity to make the issue a Nigerian issue. So, full-scale investigation through public hearing on the general situations of our rail lines. So whatever
recommendation of distinguished Senator Ningi is in order, but I'd like to possibly extend it so that it clearly covers the past, and I believe the borrowing, the cost, and the specification should be clearly stated in the resolution that we are passing. And then the future should also be covered. Where are we going with the maintenance and development of the rail line so that the investigation looks at the rail situation in its totality so that when they finish, we have a comprehensive report on the rail line system in the country.
So you suggest that we should set up an ad hoc committee hearing, and then, of course, and also call the players, both past and present, to interrogate and come up with a comprehensive solution on why we are having the teething problems and at the same time the way forward. I think that's what they are trying to say. Yes, any second, yes. Senator.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation to immediately fix the problem so that that line will now become operational. Then the investigation will follow. Yes, because the major issue now is to restore service, to restore the rail system so that it begins to work. Very, very important. So then you have to mandate the NRC to make that line operational, and then investigation will now follow. Full-scale investigation to unravel the performance of the rail system.
Any seconder to that?
President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Joel Onwabo Thomas. I represent the good people of Delta South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I second the first motion, which says that another committee is set up to thoroughly investigate.
The first motion is the motion of the Deputy Senate President calling on the Nigerian Railway Corporation
to second the amendment originally moved by Senator Nigin, except for the issue of public hearing. If you are doing investigation, I think the committee will naturally look out for experts, those who have the know-how.
The method of investigation will not matter to us. But the major thing is, one private hearing is an option, they will fix it. The major thing is a holistic investigation to be carried out on the situation. And of course, it will involve members of the public. It will involve inviting the Nigerian Railway Corporation and so many others. And then if you don't make it transparent, people will think that there is a wish hunt.
Yeah.
Okay. They will think there is a wish hunt. So I think we don't need to mention public hearing or any type of hearing. But we know that, as usual with these chambers, we must make it transparent so that the Nigerian public will be part and parcel of the investigation, and so that there will be believability in the outcome.
I'm very well guided, sir. So I write to Senator Ningim to the effect that a whole-scale investigation should be carried out by the committee of the Senate. By the committee of the Senate.
By an ad hoc committee of the Senate. Those immediately set up an ad hoc committee to undertake a whole-scale investigation of the situation of our rail lines vis-a-vis the loans collected from China and then the items brought into the country, including the implementation of the rail lines across board. Those in support, as seconded by Senator Shumole, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Sharaf-Adin, I think we should have a time frame within which they should bring back progress report of the investigative hearing, because this is a very serious issue that Nigerians would like to hear. Yes,
thank you, Mr. President. It'll be 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Mr. President, sir. I said 4 weeks.
Presenting Borno South. Just as you mentioned, Mr. President, that distinguished Senator Babangida was part of the previous administration, I want to add additional prayers to find out, the committee should find out whether Senator Goswin Opabio was also part of the administration when the loan was collected and signed. I so move.